Today we're going to talk about EarSketch. EarSketch is a way to program music using programming code. And in this particular software, you can either use Java or Python. Since we have used JavaScript with our Giroux, we're going to use Python for this particular online program. Now, as you're looking at the PowerPoint that I offered to you, there's different panels that show up on this screen. Down the left side of your screen, these are your panel controls. Then, beside that, you have your file browser. They have different music samples and scripts that you can use in this area. The second area that's important is our code editor. In this area, we can actually create code and create the script. The third area up here above the code editor is where you have your digital audio workstation. This shows the code as it runs. It shows the different tracks and plays the music that you're creating. At the bottom, this is your console. Whenever you run the code, it tells you of any errors that exist. And if you'll remember, we had that in Giroux as well. And the last area is over to the right, and this is where you have the curriculum or the instruction manuals. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you that I have never learned how to read music. I do not know how to play a musical instrument. So actually working in EarSketch for me is a little more difficult than it is for someone who does play an instrument. However, having said that, everything I show you today, you should be able to follow along with me and create at least what I can create. It may not be the best sounding piece of music, but hey, we can get through this. If you do have music experience, then this should be kind of fun for you, and I bet you can be really creative in what you can create. Those who want to learn more about it, your curriculum or the instruction manual is a very useful place to go. Now we're going to start by creating an account. You'll notice that when you go to EarSketch, it's asking for your username and password, or you can create or reset an account. If you click on Create, Reset Account, you're going to register a new account. Go ahead and fill in a username and a password. Notice the email is optional, and you're going to create an account. Again, it's important that you remember that information because I'm not going to be able to help you because I don't know what you typed in. Once you get logged into your account, you'll see your username at the top right where you can edit your profile or log out. Now, over in our curriculum area, you're going to click on Unit 1 Fundamentals. Notice that as I scroll through here, it's giving me an introduction, and at the bottom I can click the arrow to the right, which takes me to more information. It has videos throughout, and I want you to keep going through that until we get to 1.10. Notice also under 1.4 they give you some sample code. So it will really help you if you're looking to totally understand EarSketch and just be fantastic at creating music in here. You can look through this as much as you want. Now under 1.10, Composing in EarSketch, notice that there is, beside this example code that we have, there's a little clipboard with a sheet of paper. If you hover over it, it says open the example code in the editor. Anytime you find code over here that you would like to use, you can click that and it actually pops up in your code editor screen. So that's awesome for you to be able to use. If you wish to import this to edit it, you just click the plus sign, import to edit. You can give your script and name, copied demo, rename. So there I have code that they've pasted in here for me. I may not totally understand it yet, but I've got that in there. Also, I better get to how y'all are seeing it because I might be confusing you. All right, so there we have the code pasted in. Now, you'll notice that I want to actually create some brand new code from scratch. So I'm going to click the red X to close this one, and I'm going to click here to create a new script. It asks me, what do you want to call your script? I'm going to call mine demonstration script. Notice the extension is .py. That's because we're using the Python code. If you click the drop down arrow, it does give you the choice of JavaScript or Python. But since I'm showing you the Python code, let's all use Python so we don't get confused. Then we click create. It has put in our skeleton code, if you will, of what we need to actually start the code. In the top of the code editor at the right, there is a green run button. If I click run, it runs the code. You can notice in my console that it says running script. Script ran successfully. Doesn't look like a whole lot has happened yet because we don't really have anything in there to tell it what we want it to do. Also, I want you to click on the settings down arrow beside run. Notice you can toggle to blocks mode. That is really great because if you will remember, Scratch also used these building blocks that snap together. And so it makes it a lot easier to understand if you have trouble looking at the code side of it. Now, the first thing that we are going to add is a variable. So if you will go to your variables category, we're going to drag a equals 1 to line 13. We're going to change the A to synth. Now, synth represents this type of sound that I'm putting in there. I'm going to be using some synthetic sound. Now, in my instruments, where you search for music, I'm going to look for synth. And notice at the bottom there's multiple pages. I want to go to page 2 to the electro synth head, and I'm going to click the blue arrow out beside it. There's all these different choices in here. You can click the green arrow beside one to play the sound. And then you can click the blue square to stop it. Now we're going to actually click on line 13 in the area that has the 1, and instead of having to type the code in there ourselves, out beside this first sound, there's that same clipboard icon. We can click paste sound constant to the editor, and it actually puts that code in for us, and we did not have to type it. Now we're going to drag another A equals 1 underneath what we just did on line 14. We're going to change the A to beat 1. Now this represents the first beat sound. The 1 that we have there, we're going to change to string. Now there can be 16 strings. You can have it either single or double quotes around it. I'm going to use the double quotes, and I'm going to type in 0, 0, plus, 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 minus, 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 0, and then end my quotation marks. Now, when you're looking at the PowerPoint from earlier, hopefully you remember the 0 means that it's going to play the beginning 16th of the note. The plus means it's going to continue the corresponding amount of times. So in this example here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it plays 7/16 of the note. And then the minus sign means it rests. And since there's 3, it's resting for 3/16. And then it starts over and plays the first 16th of the music again. Now, again, I have no clue how to read music, so that doesn't mean a whole lot to me other than I can explain to you what the 0, the plus, and the minus represent. Okay? Next, we are going to make beat. All right, so in my EarSketch category, over in my blocks, I'm going to take make beat and I'm going to drag that to line 16. Now the file name comes from the music that you just inserted. So since I called line 13, since I called it synth on line 16, I'm going to make that say synth. If you type it incorrectly or misspell one of the words or they're not exactly the same, it won't recognize what you're trying to play and it won't work. The track number, the track represents what vertical position it's going to take up here. You can have different tracks layered on top of each other. So this is our first track. I want it to start at measure 1. And then the string, I want it to use what I set up on line 14, which I called beat 1. Now, if I click run just to see what's happening so far, it tells me that the script was run, it ran successfully. And so if I press play, I can hear that little sound. I can hear the sound. Notice that it's kind of jammed up here and I can't see it. Right above it, I have my slide to zoom in and out. So I can take that and slide it to the right so I can see it a little bit better. And you can see what's happening to it. So if I click play, this first little section represents my 2 zeros. That's 2/16 of the note. The second area that you see represents my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus signs, which is the next 5/16 of the note. This blank area is where it's resting for 3/16 of the note. And the last one is the beginning of the song again for 1/16. All right, so as I play it, all right, you can hear that beat. If you don't want to put in line 14, if you don't want to use this beat code here and then tell it just to pick up beat 1, you can on line 16. Instead of putting beat 1, we could have typed in here the 0 plus minus to set up whatever beat we wanted it to use. Now for a beat to repeat or for it to loop, we're going to go to our control flow category. We're going to drag over for I in range 0 to 10, and we're going to make it surround this make beat. But we're going to get rid of print hello. So I'm going to take print hello, drag it off the stage to the left. I'm going to take make beat and drag it inside of my for statement. We're going to change the measure to loop, and let's have it loop from range 1 to 5. And then we're telling our sound that we did on line 13 to loop as our variable, and it's going to loop that sound. So if I click run, you'll notice that not only does it do it that one time, it just continues to loop till it gets to right before number 5 on the timeline. Next, let's add some more sound here. Okay, so we want to go back to our variables, and we want to take a equals 1. Let's drag it to line 15, and let's put another one at line 16. I'm going to put two different sounds in there. The first one, I want it to be bass. Second one, I want it to be techno. Right, so in my first one, I'm going to search for this sound. All right, so instead of making you look by instrument, I'm going to tell you what I want you to search for. So let's look for new funk synth. And here we go. We click the little blue arrow beside it. And I want to choose the second one. So on line 15, I'm going to click on that one. The second sound, I'm going to paste that sound into my code. And then on line 16, I'm going to look for techno synth. And I want to do the first one. All right, so now in my EarSketch category, I'm going to take fit media. Let's drag it to line 20 and 21 because we want to take those two sound files that we want it to play, and now we're going to tell it how we want it to play. So in the first one, again, it's got to match what you typed on line 15. Since we called it bass, I'm going to call it bass there. Track number, this is my second track because the first one was synth. The second one's going to be bass. If I want it to start a little bit after the last one, maybe I started at 1.5 and I'm going to have it stop at 5. My second sound file I called techno. I'm going to name that techno. This is my third track. I want it to start at 1 and stop at 5. So if I run this, notice I have 3 tracks, 1, 2, 3. My first one is my synth sound. My second one is my bass sound. My third is my techno sound. The second sound, we told it to start at 1.5, and if you look at your ruler, it is at 1.5. We're telling both the second and third tracks to stop at 5. That's where they stopped. So if I were to play this sound, all right, again, it's not the best in the world, but hopefully you're starting to understand how to set this up. That's what I want you to get from this demonstration. Right-click on this Code Editor tab. If I right-click on that, notice you have some options in here to create a copy, rename, download it to your drive or your computer, print it, share it, code indicator, or delete it. The code indicator, if we go there, it gives us a little summary of the different types of script that we've used. Notice that all we've used in here that it's picking up is we've used one loop. All right. And it's looking for different things. When I had to do an activity this summer, the professor said I had to have at least 50 in my code indicator. So I put in a lot of loops and maybe, one of these other things because I didn't totally understand everything that EarSketch could do. I just understood the basics. You can also right-click on that tab and download. And when you download, two important areas, you have an option to download your script and download your MP3. If you click on those, it's probably going to say, this can harm your computer. Do you want to keep it? I would say keep. And it's going to download the .py file, which is the script, to your computer, and the MP3 or this completed sound file, it'll prepare to download, and then you can click download demonstration script, and then you've got it on your drive. Now, to get to scripts that you've created before, if you look on your panel control, the second one down is my script button. And if I go to that script button, I can see all of the 8 scripts that I have completed. Right now, this is your first time using it, so you'll see the first one that we call demonstration script. So it should save all of your script there. Now, to turn in something that you've created, you can right-click on the Code Editor tab, and you can click Share. Notice you can let others view it, let someone else edit it, share an embedded script, or share on SoundCloud. We want to let others view. And this shareable view only link is what you would copy and turn into me for your assignment. When you do that and I click on this link, it actually opens up your code inside of EarSketch, and I can run it and play it, but I can't make changes to the code. I can just see what you did, see if there's any errors, and of course if there are errors, it's not going to work for me, but it'll show me the errors. In your presentation, your PowerPoint, I had some additional coding tips for those who wanted to maybe add effects to some tracks or fade in or fade out. But the next thing we're going to do together is do an assignment in EarSketch on layering sound. So this was your first sample, and if you would, please share this file with me to show me that you completed the demonstration.